Good morning, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning. As usual, a long video. There's a lot to cover in here with, the Remembrance weekend, but also Harry Meghan stuff. They tried again on multiple occasions to take the spotlight. It failed miserably, and we're going to cover it all. So let's just jump in and get busy. Let's go. We're going to start off with Princess Beatrice and Eugenie. They were seen out in public talking. They gave each other a hug. This was on November 6th. Neither girl has on makeup. Neither girl is particularly dressed up for this, but there's something about Beatrice. She looks absolutely whooped. Like she just, I don't know. Eugenie looks the same to me. Beatrice looks like whatever's going on, she is taking this hard. Now, moving on to their parents, it's being said that Andrew is spending his last days basically ranting to himself as Sarah is apparently pouring out her heart to staff at a secret bar called the Doghouse. It's being said the only time they see each other is at mealtime. And Andrew, in the meantime, it said, is making a lot of demands. He wants a cook, a housekeeper, a gardener, a butler at the new house that he's going to be moving to. I don't think he's in any position to make those demands, but okay. And in the meantime, there's been some big deliveries being made to the Great Lodge. A lot of champagne has been changing hands. The question is, why is it being delivered and who's paying for it? Let's move on now to Princess Catherine, Prince George, and King Charles. Let me correct that headline. They all attended the Royal Albert Hall for the Festival of Remembrance, and apparently George showed up instead of William. They were seen here on the video. Now, this video is moving a little bit because apparently whoever took this was sitting on a motorcycle, which was on. So the video is rumbling and shaking just a little bit. And let me also say, as I pointed out in my live yesterday, I was kind of disgusted because they were attacking William for not attending this event. William did not attend the event because he was still traveling back from Brazil. Sir Keir Starmer was back because Sir Keir Starmer took a private jet, and I believe also William had another event or something else that he had to go to before he left, and he flew back commercial. So therefore, that's why one is back and not the other. But of course, that didn't stop people from attacking and saying why William wasn't there. So anyway, I think this is great training for George. They arrived outside and they made their way up inside where George, said hello to people, shaking hands, the typical stuff that happens when they get there. I also may not be showing these in the right order of which everybody arrived, okay? But Catherine was seen wearing earrings that once belonged to the late Queen Elizabeth. Her poppy was made by Izzy Agger of Lock & Company, who recently graduated from the Royal School of Needlework. And the poppy was handmade using silk, glass, and other natural materials. King Charles then came in looking very dapper. This is one pose he did. I was like, what the heck? I just love him. And Queen Camilla, of course. Of course, next up scene was the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie and Edward. She looked absolutely gorgeous as usual. They were seen outside and then inside. I'm sure that they celebrated their daughter's birthday earlier in the day. It was her birthday. Also spotted was Prince Richard, the Duke of Gloucester, and Brigitte, his fabulous wife. Now, also spotted arriving and shaking hands again was Sir Keir Starmer and his wife, Victoria. Now this, which is the Royal British Legion Festival of Remembrance, is staged every year on the Saturday evening of Remembrance weekend. It honors the bravery and sacrifice made by the British and Commonwealth Armed Forces community and includes musical performances and personal testimonies. By the way, the picture you're looking at now, every single poppy that's being dropped, every single one represents somebody who has passed away. This year's festival actually marked a major milestone. It is the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. There were a lot of personal stories this year highlighting the experience of those lost during more recent conflicts. King Charles got emotional at one point during the events. Now, the particular focus was also put this year to military children who have faced bereavement. And this event also marks the 25 years since the UK government permitted gay, lesbian, and bisexual service members to openly serve in the British Armed Forces. And it celebrates the advances made over the last quarter century while reflecting on past discrimination. Of course, there was a 2-minute silence observed at the end of the festival as the poppies fell from the ceiling, that's what you just saw, to remember the fallen service members. This year, award-winning actress and singer Hannah Waddington hosted the event, which was broadcast on BBC One. You had Sir Rod Stewart that you saw a second ago. You had Sam Ryder. But beyond those, there were some really fabulous displays from the Central Band of the Royal Air Force, the Royal Air Force Squadronaires, the King's Color Squadron, and the Band of the Royal Marines. Don't forget that King Charles became the patron of the Royal British Legion in 2024. Now, of course, spotting George out and about really sparked a frenzy. And the reason for that is people were noticing how tall George has gotten. He is the height of Princess Catherine, and she's wearing heels. So what does that tell you? He's going to be as tall as William, if not taller. Now, of course, also spotted leaving was King Charles and Queen Camilla. Again, they might have left before Catherine and George. I may not have it all in the right order. But I think they looked lovely. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what the women were wearing. And I think this is fabulous training for George. I love the way he's being brought up. Now, literally, as the royals are stepping out for this event, which is a major event, Harry and Meghan put out a statement on their Archewell, website saying that they are donating money to food banks. We are bolstering our effort to provide meals and food relief to those in need when families across the U.S. are struggling. It's all about community and blah, blah, blah. Keep in mind, again, this is not them. This is Archewell. So it's not their money. It's money that other people donated to Archewell that they are giving out. It's not their money. And once again, they tried to, steal the attention. Nobody paid attention to their announcement. It's literally a joke. There's so much effort involved in calling one of your employees and going, how much money is in the Archewell account? You donate, but don't tell people how much. And then put out a press release. Oh, we look fabulous. Moving on. So the next day, everybody goes to the cenotaph, which was unveiled by King George V in 1920. I find it so cool that they found this video showing the actual unveiling of the cenotaph. It's so amazing. Okay, so the next day, Prince William returned to public duty. He was with King Charles and other senior members of the royal family for the National Service of Remembrance in London. He laid a wreath at the memorial on Whitehall, which was honoring the servicemen and women who have lost their lives in conflict. Now, this ceremony, which is held annually on Remembrance Sunday, brings together veterans, serving personnel, and representatives of the armed forces alongside political leaders and members of the royal family. Major Ollie Plunkett, who is equerry to Queen Camilla, laid a wreath on her behalf. Now, support for serving personnel, veterans, and military families remains one of the central pillars of Prince William's work. Don't forget, he served for 7.5 years in the armed forces, including active search and rescue duty as an RAF pilot. He currently holds several military appointments and honorary roles, including Colonel of the Welsh Guards, Colonel-in-Chief of the Mercian Regiment and the Army Air Corps, and Royal Honorary Air Commodore of the RAF Valley. He is also Commodore-in-Chief of the submarines. Now, King Charles led today's service, laying the first wreath at the cenotaph in his role as Sovereign and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. For those of you who may not know, the King's military career began in 1971 when he gained his RAF wings before serving in the Royal Navy and later commanding HMS Bronington during his final months of naval service. He now holds also numerous senior honorary military ranks and affiliations across the forces. Prince Edward also laid a wreath in his capacity as Colonel of the Scotch Guards, and he also holds other multiple military appointments. Now, one of the things that was a really big thing for me was Sophie. She was up on the balcony helping to support the Duke of Kent, who we know is newly widowed. She was shedding a few tears, and the Duke of Kent had to be very emotional as well. I just love both of them. Princess Catherine also, it was noted, became quite emotional and also wiped away a tear while she was watching. Now, they were all on the balcony of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. So Camilla was next to Catherine. Sophie was next to the Duke of Kent. And over on the right, you'll see in just a second in another picture, you had the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. It was very obvious from the pictures that came out that Catherine and Camilla have a very close personal relationship, and apparently have had that Catherine's entire marriage. So I'm glad that they're able to stand side by side on the balcony. Now, of course, the king led the 2 minutes of silence to commemorate Remembrance Sunday. And then, everything continued on. Now, there's one thing that happened that nobody really seems to be talking about, and I'm going to talk about it, and that's the cabs. Black cabs lined the streets of London, offering to provide free transport to veterans that were heading to the cenotaph to mark Remembrance Sunday. These black cabs usually line up near Westminster, and this has become an annual tradition since 2009. It's inspired by the Royal British Legion's Poppy Appeal. So the rides go from the major train stations across London to where the commemoration is taking place, ensuring that these veterans arrive safely and on time for the commemoration event. I just think that's wonderful. Other people seen laying wreaths besides Sir Keir Starmer are former Prime Ministers John Major, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown. And on behalf of the Princess Royal, who we know is in Australia, and we'll cover that in just a minute, her Deputy Private Secretary, Lieutenant Colonel Catherine Skinner, laid the wreath in her stead. Now that is a sight. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce, as usual, for showing us what Catherine and what Sophie were wearing on this particular event. Let's move on. Let's talk now about Princess Anne. On November 8th, the day that she arrived in Australia, the governor of New South Wales, her name is Margaret Beazley, hosted a ceremonial welcome and a reception in honor of Anne and Sir Tim Lawrence. This took place while they were in Sydney. The next day, Princess Anne, accompanied by her fabulous husband, Sir Tim Lawrence, as Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Australian Corps of Signals, she attended a centenary parade that took place at the Victoria Barracks in Sydney, and that's to mark the centenary of the Royal Australian Corps of Signals. She has been Colonel-in-Chief there, FYI, since 1977. You're looking good in that uniform. Now, while that was going on and they were laying wreaths at the cenotaph in London, the Princess Royal laid a wreath at Sydney's Anzac Memorial in Hyde Park. Anne is there, of course, with her husband and the Governor-General of Australia, Sam Mostyn. So Princess Anne was taken inside the Hall of Remembrance for the special Sunday service. Also there was Governor Margaret Beazley, Chief of the Army Lieutenant General Simon Stewart, and other senior veterans. So she laid the wreath, she gave a remembrance reading, and then she went outside where she stopped to chat with some of the older veterans and their families who had medals, pinned to their blazers. Then she departed to a lot of applause from members of the public who had waited throughout the service just to catch a glimpse of her. And that was when she went to the barracks for the parade that you just saw a minute ago. Now, after the parade, there was a garden party with like 900 guests, but no pictures of that have come out yet. But you know me, as soon as they come out, I'm going to happily put them up for you. All right? Time to move on. Now let's move on to Lady Louise. We know she turned 22, and what people are saying is that she might be persuaded to step up as a working royal because Prince William confirms that change is on, his agenda. She might assume greater responsibilities. especially with what's going on with the monarchy. She has emerged as a potential candidate to bolster the royal workforce. I think she'd be fabulous. Now let's talk for a second about Mike Tyndall. I showed you yesterday the video of the 100-year-old World War II veteran saying that he has a lot of regret about the state of modern Britain. Well, that clip was shared by Turning Point UK, that conservative youth organization that advocates for freedom, free markets, and a limited government. Well, Mike Tyndall, who's not a working royal, decided to share that video on his Instagram story. And since he's not a working royal, he's not bound by the rules of neutrality. Some information, if you dug into this guy's past, he pulled bodies from bombed out homes when he was 15. You should read the article on this guy. He was so traumatized by what he went through in World War I that he pushed his son to go to the Navy instead of the Army because he served in some of the worst conditions imaginable. All right, this next story has nothing to do with the royals, but my husband and my sons are massive Top Gear fans, and I think it's important to point this out. Jeremy Clarkson had come out, that he's paid tribute. A lot of people have come out because Top Gear co-star Quentin Wilson has passed away. He apparently had lung cancer, and then it was a very short battle, and he passed at the age of 68. He was one of the original Top Gears from 1991 to 2001. Sorry to hear about everybody's loss. They say he was a true consumer champion, a national treasure. Also, James May has spoken out. What a shame. All right, let's move on. All right, next up, this just got me. There's a new documentary in Channel 5. It's called The Jobless Prince, What Will Harry Do Next? And Anna Whitcomb spoke out about Harry. She said, and I'm quoting, "Heaven help anyone who went to Harry in the role of Harry being a therapist. Harry's got more issues than I've got hot dinners. He might need therapy, but I doubt very much he can dispense it." This documentary has a string of controversial claims about Harry and Meghan. What they're pointing out is that Harry's chapter in the United States seems to be coming to an end, and people are wondering how he's going to pay his $10 million mortgage after he lost his court fight for taxpayer-funded security. They're saying, well, his writing career might continue, and somebody else said maybe he should become a dad influencer for billionaires. So while the royal family was at the cenotaph, Harry and Meghan went to the Baby to Baby fundraiser. It's a nonprofit organization that has an annual gala that raises money for providing essentials to children in need. And they raised $18 million this year in charity. And Serena Williams was presented, are you ready? With the Giving Tree Award, which is a gong that honors a celebrity mother who embodies the Baby to Baby mission. What? Now, let me remind you, for those of you who don't remember, when Harry and Meghan first moved to California, they went to Baby to Baby. They didn't put any money in towards the supplies. They didn't help buy the supplies. They didn't help collect the supplies. They didn't package the supplies. Rumor was they asked Baby to Baby to pay for a private jet. Baby to Baby said no. They showed up. They handed out supplies. They brought their own photographer. They copyrighted the pictures and they left after 40 minutes. And Meghan was merching her mask because, in case you don't notice, her hair is down in front of her face and you can't see the name on the mask, and then all of a sudden, poof, her hair is back. So this was the kind of behavior that we were expecting from them after this. And finally, after the Baby to Baby event, Harry and Meghan headed to Jeff Bezos' mansion because he was hosting Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party. It was a James Bond themed celebration. And of course, we saw all of the children arriving. And then, of course, remember what Harry said? Every time I see a flash, every time the bulb goes off, it takes me back. Well, you could have fooled me. They were seen walking in. Meghan had the typical rictus grin on, and her outfit, my goodness, the top of her outfit was one color black. Actually, it looks like it's dark blue. The bottom was a different color. She had lint all over everything. She looked a mess, a hot mess. Now, the guest list was very interesting because there were a lot of people there. I found when I looked it up, a lot of these people are all represented by WME. It's the same people over and over again. Of course, you had Gayle King, you had Oprah Winfrey, but then also you had Adele and her husband. Next up, it starts to get really interesting because the next guest that I saw was Martha Stewart. Remember Martha Stewart, who basically pointed out that Meghan is inauthentic and therefore her brand wasn't going to do well? There were also people there that Harry and Meghan absolutely did not know. Snoop Dogg was there. Bill Gates was there. I'm sure Meghan slithered her way up to him, as much money as he has. And of course, Tyler Perry was there. So you've got all these people, and what the articles are saying is they're A-listers, and this cements their place with the other A-listers. This shows that the celebrities have accepted them. And now this is what you're going to see from now on. Hailey Bieber was there, and Mark Zuckerberg was there. I wonder if Harry said anything to him about his social media campaign. But I tell you what, a lot of people noticed. Harry was upset. Harry was not smiling. I think, and I agree with this article, that Harry is sick and tired of being drug around like this in front of other people. There's no way that Harry is not aware that she's basically parading him around. And what's being said is he doesn't like the social media displays. He's bored with life in the United States. He misses his former royal duties and military life where he had a sense of purpose. And he's become Meghan's lapdog. He knows it. Everybody knows it. Oh, but they're holding hands. Oh, give me a break. People understand that they're really not together anymore. Now, in case you haven't read about this already, the police were called to the mansion several times. There were numerous noise complaints from the neighbors. The decibel level apparently went off the charts because Bruno Mars was performing. But the police just gave them a warning while they were there and told people to just, lower your voices, cut it down. A party is one thing, but you can't disturb everybody. Here they are leaving, and just a reminder, Harry said, "The clicking of cameras and flashes of cameras makes my blood boil. It makes me angry. It takes me back to what happened to my mum and what I experienced when I was a kid." In the spare, he said that the click of the camera triggered him and made his heart race. But even a little worse, a little more traumatizing, came that blinding flash. Every single camera flash reminds me of my mother's death. And in that respect, it's the worst reminder of her life as opposed to the best. All right, you guys. Well, I decided to try grok. Here you go.
This is ridiculous.
It's okay, let's keep going.
Oh, I want your comments on this one. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wishlist, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.